to other images. You start with something like that, and yeah, okay, that's a cool, fun comic book pinup, but by the same token, you know, that's the Fibonacci sequence, that's the Fibonacci spiral. And that's something that was learned completely in my traditional education as a drawing and painting major. And that cool stuff like that, you know, I wouldn't do necessarily a layout like that for every piece, but exercises like that kind of gear your art and towards focusing readers' eyes, which is really important for a sequential medium, and it's a sequential medium that is built to tell stories. That's ultimately what you want a comic to do, is tell a story, and it's all about, as an artist, being that visual director, you know, telling your reader where to go with their eye. And it can be very important when you think about that, and you know, in terms that other people have already thought about for you. You know, the Fibonacci spiral is a great way to guide the eye and make focus on a page. In addition, you saw some of Christian's layouts, and you're going to see some of mine too. These are much smaller layouts. These are, I mean, maybe 4 inches tall, and this is just to give me an idea of where that page is going to go when I'm finished with it. Of course, when we get to the finished page, and these are going to look a little different because this is an example of a collaborative effort. That'll be my pencils, my colors, and those are Lund's inks and lettering skills. And this is one of the other things that's a bonus of our studio, since we have 4 members in the studio, and all 4 of us are versed in doing all the different parts of a comic, from penciling to lettering, and at least 2 of us write. If ever we're caught under a deadline, we have help. And sometimes it's better to just go ahead and start a project, you know, already locked in that agreement of, okay, you do this job, I'll do this job. And it cuts down the headache for everyone. And considering that, like I said, you know, time constraints will kill art. Like Dave was saying, you know, it's the slowest typewriter in the world. And as someone who's written comic scripts, you know, I can bang out a 4-issue comic script in, you know, a week, and that's kind of, you know, leisurely. But that same comic will take 4 to 6 months to draw. And I would say, like, that's not the average time. I'm just saying, like, you know, I've done it. Yeah. The range, don't worry, I'm giving it a short range. What's your average? Your average is still faster.
Oh, God, remember that story that took me 5 years?
Well, yeah, that would. But
no, I can knock out.
If you're doing nothing else,
if you're doing nothing else, I could probably do what you did in a week in about a month.
Yeah. I think you revise more than I do too. Yeah. I have a lot more mistakes in mine, which is
Take out the revising, and it's about 2 weeks.
Yeah. 2 weeks. Yeah, and that's. But the thing is even that, you know, that same amount of text will take several months to draw on the short end. If you have an artist who works slower, it can take much longer to draw. There are artists who quite simply cannot put out a book a month because they just don't work fast enough. And that's not to say that they're wasting time. They just
and I also play Age of Empires.
Yeah. See, I've lost my ability to play computer games and watch TV. It's gone now. But yeah, there's just this massive gulf of separation between the time input between pages and, you know, drawing pages and writing them to get there. Something I like to do with a lot of my pages, I like to do a lot of color progression for. It's something I picked up from another artist, but they were talking about, like in Disney films, if you take, you know, a Disney film, you kind of lay out every little screenshot from it. If you look, they will have color progressions, and they'll go, you know, they'll start from like a really cool blue, and they'll start to intensify it, and they'll move into a green. Then once they'll get into certain color ranges, they're keying towards certain emotions. So like for these pages, you know, we started with, you know, kind of a cooler blue. But as I move forward, I go start moving into greens, and give these touches of orange and yellow, and orange and red, so that when I finally get to that page, that last panel of red stops you, because that's the one where I want you to stop and take notice and be like, oh, something really important just happened. And that's one of those, you know, as an artist, the directorial choices that you have to make in sort of inventing and putting drama into your pages. Because the text, you know, it'll do some of it on its own, but it's not going to do everything. And as the visual representative, you have to kind of step up to the plate to make the rest of that happen. I think that's pretty short and sweet for me.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. One, tag.
Okay, my name is Lun. Also part of the Space Gun Studios. There from most of the beginning of this particular one.
You were there from Space Gun 2.0 and on.
Yeah. I just want to also show you. I graduated from UNT for the degree in communication designs, which is what my day job is. Which includes, this is another part, a dirty secret of the industry. We all have day jobs. And comic books is mostly freelancing. The dream is to turn the 5 to midnight drawing hours into your 9 to 5. So you go to work, you come home. I don't watch TV, I haven't seen an episode of Lost or 24. Go home and I just draw. So this is some freelance work I've done for Hardcore, The Genius Club, which is a movie that came out. Jake's mentioned our webcomic. Oh, you can say it was practice. Most of my stuff that I do is I'm a pretty straight up illustrator. Photography is one of my hobbies. I've been doing that for years, so I do a lot of stuff with photography. So I get a model in, I light her how I want to light her, and get the stuff that I want. At first I was doing it traditionally. I would light box it and kind of interpret it how I want to interpret it. And then I would color it. This particular piece was done in Illustrator, which kind of gives it a different look than some of my other stuff. Because here, I'll show you one that I did in Photoshop. I got this particular model in for one of my pinup books, Gun Gals and Blade. Blades. God dang it. Get that in. This is a purely digital process, from the digital photo to the digital inks. The sword and the hair I leave empty because I want to do that as a color treatment, as you can see here. This is what we call doing flats. When you color in comics, most of the time we do a flat color, which is where you can choose your color scheme and you can tweak it from this process. And then from here I would do a set of shades, which is just doing really simple kind of stuff. And then from there I would just add my effects, or add makeup and do that halftone grading, which I love. I do a lot, sometimes too much. Let's see, Jake showed you some of his pencils. These are the pencils he gave me to ink. When I scan them to Photoshop, I turn them blue, which makes it easier to see when I ink on top of it. A lot of times you see a lot of photo blue in the industry because it doesn't photocopy. So you can take out the blacks really, really easily, and the blue just kind of drop out of your frame. So you can see that process from here to there.
Evan uses 5 different colored pencils when he's.
Yeah. Now he gave me a color. He gave me a couple of them. I've been sketching with orange.
Yeah.
And the blue is just traditional. Sometimes I'll do a green or a red, just kind of what fits my fancy. These were inked in Photoshop. I've just been doing it for a long time. I've tried out Manga Studio. It's a little different. I just gotta get used to it.
You did much better in Photoshop than I ever had.
All my inking is done in Photoshop. Every once in a while I'll go into Illustrator. I love Illustrator. My studio mates hates it because they think it's like math, but I tend to dig it. Here's another, okay, moving on. This is something that David showed earlier. This is an interesting process. Yeah, you see the jar of candy. The one on the left is my initial pass as a letterist. In the studio, for the most part, I am a support class. I do a lot of the inking, the lettering, all the technical stuff. I put a lot of the books together for print. So this is what I did for lettering. As you can see, because it's a digital process, I send the editor the page and he'll send me back notes. And instead of him writing out notes, he can just move stuff around on the page. Instead of telling me, hey, can you make this smaller, can you make this bigger? He just shows me. I'm like, okay, I can go in and do it on the fly.
Ignorant question. Why do you have separate letterists?
It's just a process.
Is it just so intense for the artist as well as the
Well, the thing is, when you're doing the art and the inking and the penciling process, if it's one person, that person has to pencil and then ink, but then he can be drawing the second page while someone's inking the first page. It becomes this assembly process where you can pass on the other job and you can just crank out pages faster that way.
And a great letterist is really quick.
Yeah, in addition, lettering is a separate skill set. It is actually a completely different skill set from
I have no idea how it works. I've never attempted it.
I have noticed in a lot of the work you do see lettering styles that